The Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast. Welcome to the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society, a podcast dedicated to suspense, crime, and horror stories from the golden age of radio. I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua.
We love mysterious old-time radio stories, but do they stand the test of time? That's what we're here to find out.
This week, I've brought number 31 from the Adventures of Ellery Queen. The detective series made its debut as an hour-long show on CBS on June 18th, 1939, featuring special armchair detective guests who would have the opportunity to try to solve the mystery once Ellery Queen himself had enough evidence to solve the crime. Starting with the February 25th, 1940 episode, the show became a half-hour program. On January 10th, 1942, the show switched sponsors from Gulf Oil to Bromo Seltzer and moved from CBS to NBC. By the show's final episode on May 27th, 1948, it returned to CBS, then back to NBC, and then to ABC, moving from network to network as a result of its popularity, which drove up production costs.
Ellery Queen was created as a pseudonym for Frederick Deney and Manfred Bennington Lee's crime fiction starting in 1929. The character of Queen appeared in the stories, helping his police commissioner father solve crimes. Over the next 40 years, the character appeared in more than 30 novels and several short story collections. In print, radio, television, film, and more, the name Ellery Queen was synonymous with finding clues and solving mysteries.
In much the same way the actual authors' names were originally masked by the name Ellery Queen, the various actors who portrayed the role during the radio series run were not identified during their tenure in the role. In case you are wondering, they were Hugh Marlowe, Carlton Young, Sidney Smith, Lawrence Dobkin, and Howard Culver. So that's the mystery solved for you. Today's episode features Lawrence Dobkin in the title role in number 31, first broadcast September 7th, 1947.
It's late at night, and a chill has set in. You're alone, and the only light you see is coming from an antique radio. Listen to the sounds coming from the speaker. Listen to the music, and listen to the voices.
If you're suffering from painful corns, listen. One cool drop of Free-Zone liquid corn remover instantly cools, soothes burning, painful corns. Instantly goes to work to relieve tormenting pain. Equally amazing, when used as directed, Free-Zone helps remove corns. Get Free-Zone liquid corn remover. There's no fuss, no bulky, messy pads. One cool drop of Free-Zone instantly cools, soothes burning, painful corns. Ellery Queen. In the interest of a safer American home, a happier American community, a more united state, the makers of Anison bring you Ellery Queen.
I dedicate this program to the fight against crime. Not merely crimes of violence and crimes of dishonesty, but crimes of intolerance, discrimination, and bad citizenship. Crimes against America.
Anison, for the fast, prolonged relief of headache pain, brings you another case in the career of Ellery Queen, celebrated fighter of crime. Anison's guest armchair detective, who's in the studio to solve the mystery, before Ellery reveals the solution, is Mr. Kent Smith. And now, Ellery Queen tells the story of a mysterious international figure suspected of diamond smuggling, number 31.
Just a minute, Charlie. Inspector.
Huh? Who is it, Edie?
A radio phone. Charlie says some guy's calling the police department from the steamship at G at sea.
So I'm elected, huh? Inspector Queen speaking.
You kept me waiting.
Hi, Kip. Who is this?
George Arcaris.
Oh, yes, Mr. Arcaris. Well, what can I do for you?
You and your police and your customs officials can let me alone. That's what you can do for me, Inspector, whoever you are.
Now, I don't get you, Mr. Arcaris. If you're on shipboard in mid-Atlantic,
You can let me alone when the ship docks in New York.
Oh, Expecting trouble with the customs, Mr. Arcaris?
Very humorous. 3 times now I've been searching your customs like a common criminal. If it occurs this time, I shall make the most vigorous representations to my government. Do you understand me? Inspector, what is your name?
I understand you.
He's going to make trouble, Inspector, huh?
That's what he says, really.
Is this a private fight, Dad, or can anyone get in on it?
Oh, that was a bird named George Arcaris, Ellery.
He's from the Near East.
Yeah, and he has plenty of connections.
Arcaris, of course.
What's your interest in him?
Well, son, about a year ago, we got a tip he was smuggling diamonds in. We passed the tip to customs. They gave him the business.
But no diamonds, I take it.
No diamonds. Still, after Arcaris sailed back to his homeland, some stuff turned up around New York that seemed to jibe with our tip.
The same thing happened on his next 2 trips, Maestro.
Now he calls from mid-ocean to say that if he's bothered again, he'll make a diplomatic issue of it.
Well, if he's innocent, you can't blame him.
Listen, Miss Porter, this Arcaris is an international mystery man.
And he's suspected of everything from espionage to murder, but never any proof.
Well, it certainly doesn't keep him out of cafe society. He's always being wined and dined by people like Pip Istrom and Sue Mounting and that crowd.
Oh. Who's been passing these tips along, Dad?
Oh, they've been coming in by way of the underground. Vila, get me ZK at customs.
Yes, sir, right on.
Of course, it's occurred to you, Dad, that Arcaris may be smuggling the diamonds in through a Confederate?
Oh, sure, it's occurred to us, but
That's right.
Yeah.
what can you do? It's one of those things that...
Yeah, just a minute, please.
Here's simple enough.
Here's ZK, Inspector.
Zach, anything come in on George Arcaris? Uh-huh. Yes, I know. Well, I just got a notion about that. I'll call you right back. There's been another tip. Now, listen, Ellery. We must make sure that Arcaris isn't slipping the ice to a co-worker to carry off. Now, would you make sure for us?
It's a delicate situation, Maestro.
If you tell us he hasn't passed anything to a pal, we'll search Arcaris and customs, Ellery.
I'd have to board the AG quite a bit before she docks, Dad.
That'll be a cinch now. I can arrange it with the port and customs people.
All right.
Now, look here. You go out Sunday with the pilot and mingle with the passengers.
I don't see Ellery getting off, Inspector.
Yeah, neither do I. Oh, wait a minute. There he is.
Now, Veely, be ready to take Arcaris over from Ellery.
Okay.
All right, get going.
So that's Mr. Arcaris.
Let's get closer, Nicky.
Why, Inspector, there's Pip Istrom and Sue Mounting, his fiancée.
His society friends, huh?
Pete, Susu, here I am. Susu, there he is. Hi, George.
Darling, hi.
I'll see you as soon as I'm finished with the customs.
Don't let him push you around, George.
Don't worry.
Well, Ellery,
Nothing doing.
he didn't pass it.
I'm positive. Haven't had my eyes off him. If he's smuggling anything, Dad, it's in his luggage or on him.
Well, that means a body search. And I better go tell Zach. Thanks, son.
Phone me at home, Dad, will you?
I wonder if they'll find anything, Ellery.
I wonder. Nothing, eh?
Not a blasted thing, son. And Billy swears Arcaris didn't pass anything to anyone from the gangway to the customs ship.
Arcaris raising Cain?
He's calling Washington right now. I guess those tips are phonies, and we fell for them.
Yeah. Keep me informed, Dad. Oh, Nicky.
The Inspector?
Yes, and it's a washout.
Uh-oh. Oh, by the way, Ellery, there's a Mrs. Prine waiting to see you. She's terribly concerned about her son.
Her son?
Well, all right.
Oh, as long as she's here already, yeah.
Come in, Mrs. Prine.
Yes, please, come in, Mrs. Prine, and sit down, won't you?
Oh, Mr. Queen, it's about Arthur, my boy.
Yes?
He's missing. He didn't come home yesterday.
Well, suppose you tell me all about it.
Well, we live in Harlem, Mr. Queen, just Arthur and me. I'm a widow. I'm sickly, and Arthur supports me.
Where was Arthur supposed to be coming home from, Mrs. Prine?
From his job. He's got a butling job over on Park Avenue, employed by Mr. Istrom.
Ellery.
Oh, the buddy of our good friend, Nicky. Please go on, Mrs. Prine.
Well, every Saturday for 3 years, Mr. Queen, that boy's come straight home from Park Avenue with his salary. Here it is Sunday, and he ain't home yet.
Have you called Mr. Istrom?
Oh, yes, sir, yesterday evening. But he said Arthur had left at the usual time, saying he was going right home. I don't know what I'll do if Arthur don't show up by tonight.
Mrs. Prine is afraid he'll lose his job, Ellery.
Mr. Istrom's awful strict. Every morning, Arthur has to have Mr. Istrom's breakfast ready by 9 o'clock. Monday mornings, Arthur always gets there by 8:30, just so Mr. Istrom can eat on time.
Did Istrom offer any possible explanation, Mrs. Bryan?
Well, he said not to worry. But I don't know, Mr. Queen. It don't sound like Arthur.
Have you notified the police?
Oh, no, sir. Mr. Istrom wouldn't like that. That's why I come to you, Mr. Queen.
Yes. Well, now, you go home and stop worrying, Mrs. Bryan. I'll make the inquiries.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Queen.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pip Istrom's butler, and today George Arcaris came in. Funny coincidence.
Nicky, get me the Missing Persons Bureau.
Here she is, Ellery.
Oh. Good morning, Mrs. Bryan.
Morning, Mr. Queen. Miss Porter.
Morning.
I got down here just as fast as I could.
Mrs. Bryan, I think we've found Arthur.
You have? Well, where is he?
Mrs. Prine.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid we had some dreadful news for you. This is the city mortuary.
What, sir?
This is the morgue, Mrs. Prine. Nicky.
All right, sir. It's all right.
Lean on me, Mrs. Prine.
Do you think that you're up to identifying Arthur officially for us, Mrs. Prine?
I want to see my boy.
Nicky?
I know, Ellery.
All right, Mrs. Bryan. Sergeant.
Right, Maestro.
That's my son. Arthur! He was all damp, wet like.
His body was taken out of the East River at 5 o'clock this morning.
Arthur never did a wrong thing in his life. Only maybe play 10 cents on the numbers once in a while. He won $20 last month playing the number 31.
What?
Yes, sir. He liked that number, 31. Been playing it for most a year. Do I go home now?
Sergeant, take Mrs. Bryan home, will you?
Yeah. Go on, Miss Bryan. Easy. Go on.
I think I'd like a cup of coffee, Ellery.
Then Pip Istrom is going to have to give it to you.
Istrom? But, Ellery, it's so early in the morning. It's only 7:15.
This can't wait, Nicky. There's a connection between Arthur's death and George Arcaris. That number, 31.
You mean just because Arthur played 31 all the time in the numbers
The
game?
number of Arcaris' cabin on the Aegea was also 31. Come on, Nicky.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have the beginning of our mystery. If you want to relieve headache, neuritis, or neuralgia pains quickly, try Anacin. The relief it brings is incredibly fast. Here's why. Anacin is made like a doctor's prescription, contains not just one, but a combination of medically active and proved ingredients. Get Anacin from your druggist in easy-to-take tablet form. Keep it handy. And then next time you have a headache pain or suffer pain of neuritis or neuralgia, take Anacin tablets. For most effective relief, use only as directed. Anacin, A-N-A-C-I-N. And now, back to our story. Hopping into a cab, Ellery and Nicky go directly from the city mortuary to Pip Istrom's apartment on Park Avenue.
I can't see anyone at this hour. I'm just having my breakfast.
Mr. Istrom, your butler is dead.
Arthur? Dead? Well, come in.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Please forgive the appearance of my apartment. Arthur was the only servant I employed. Dead. That's something of a blow. He was a jewel. Won't you sit down?
Thanks, Mr. Istrom, but we...
Mind if I have another cup of coffee?
Not at all.
Join me?
No, thanks.
Arthur's mother phoned me Saturday night, but naturally. How did he die? Run over? Stabbed in some Harlem brawl?
Even if he was in a brawl, Mr. Istrom, I strongly doubt that it took place in Harlem. He died of a cerebral fracture. There's a bruise on his jaw, and the back of his head is not pretty.
And then his body was dumped in the East River, like a sack of garbage.
In a word, Mr. Istrom, Arthur was murdered.
That's clumsy of me. Well, see here, Queen. Do the police think I did it or some such nonsense? The last time I saw Arthur was Saturday evening when he left here perfectly all right.
I take it that your friend, George Arcaris, knew Arthur.
Sure. What has Arcaris to do with Arthur's death, Queen?
That, Mr. Istrom, is what I propose to find out.
George, he only got into the States yesterday morning.
Arthur may not have been murdered until yesterday afternoon. Immersion in water, you see, often makes it difficult to fix the exact time of death.
Now, look here. I'm getting a little bit bored with all this. My fiancée, Miss Mounting, and I have known Mr. Arcaris for a long time, and I'm quite...
31.
I beg your pardon?
I said 31. Does the number 31 mean anything to you, Mr. Istrom?
Not a thing.
Oh. Then, I'll let you return to your breakfast. Becky?
Now you're way off, son. What possible connection could there be?
I don't know, Dad, but there is one.
All on account of a number 31, a coincidence.
Just the same, I'm going to see Arcaris.
Ellery, no.
Why?
Now lay off, Arcaris, will you? You don't know the stint she's made. Now, please, son.
Okay. But, Dad, I think you're making a big mistake.
And that seemed to be the end of the diamond smuggling case. And of the Arthur Prine case, too. The police got nowhere on it, and Ellery got grumpier every day. Then 2 weeks later, it was a Sunday.
Nicky, is that you?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
In my Sunday best. Ellery, what's the matter?
Dear Gia, it's sailing today.
So what?
George Arcaris is sailing on it.
Suppose he is.
Nicky, we can just make it.
Make what?
The Aegea. I just solved it, Nicky. Come on.
I hope you know what you're doing, Mr. Queen.
Trust me, Captain.
You hope.
Please. Captain Dillian, Mr. Arcaris. Open your cabin door, please.
Yes? What is it, Captain? Who are these people?
Mr. Arcaris, would you mind if this gentleman searches your cabin?
Search. I mind very definitely, Captain.
Perhaps if I explained. Mr. Arcaris, it's my theory that this cabin contains a hiding place.
Hiding place? Of what?
Of some diamonds.
Oh, I see. Formerly, I've been accused of smuggling diamonds into the United States. Now I am accused of smuggling them out. Is that it?
Not exactly. But you will admit, Mr. Arcaris, won't you? That it's a very odd coincidence you're always booking cabin 31 on the Aegea, both coming and going?
And it's demented. Very well. Go ahead.
Sir, I can't hold up the ship, Mr. Queen. We sail in 10 minutes.
Ellery, 10 minutes.
One side, Nicky.
You'll have to hurry, Mr. Queen.
It's a pity my good friends, Mr. Eastrom and Miss Mounting, did not stay on board long enough to witness this spectacle.
So Istrom and Miss Mounting were here, Mr. Arcaris. Here in your cabin?
You know them? Yes, Mr. Queen. They always see me off.
That's very interesting, Arcaris, because the steel support of this bunk comes out, revealing a very effective hiding place.
What?
Why, it's big enough to hide a fortune in diamonds.
But Mr. Queen, it's empty.
Certainly, Captain, but it was full of diamonds when the Aegea docked.
Ellery, he was searched when he got off the ship.
Arcaris left the diamonds on board, Nicky. He never carried them off when the ship made port, but he made sure always to get cabin 31 for the return trip. You heard him just now. Pip Istrom and Sue Mounting always see him off. Visitors to the ship on its outgoing voyage. Such visitors are not searched when they leave. One of them carried the diamonds off just a few minutes ago.
Stand very still.
Oh. My error.
Do not move, please. Not even a little. Very good.
Oh, the swine. Oh, locked.
Ellery, look here, through the porthole. He's running down the gangway just as they're pulling it in.
Never mind our carriers, Nicky. We've got to get to Wistrom's. Captain, get us off your ship. And so, Mr. Istrom, I will trouble you for those diamonds.
The Queen, they have nothing to do with Arcaris. My fiancée, Miss Mounting, did turn some jewels over to me this afternoon, yes. But...
Oh, she did?
Yes, she often does. Susu was very popular before our engagement, you know, with some extremely wealthy gentry. She gambles a little, I'm afraid, and she turned some of their gifts over to me for disposal. You know, my father made his money in South African diamonds. I still have some of Father's connection. Do you doubt my word?
Are you as big an idiot as you sound, Istrom? Your precious Susu has been smuggling diamonds into the United States for your friend Arcaris and getting you to turn them into cash.
That's a lie, Queen. That's a filthy lie.
Ellery, watch yourself.
Semper, Mr. Istrom. Sorry.
Wow. You knocked him out, Ellery. He's out cold.
Yes. Now to find those diamonds.
Don't bother.
Huh?
Susu Mounting.
I've got them. Mr. Queen, isn't it?
You know, Miss Mounting, that gun is probably loaded. You sure you know what you're doing?
Oh, stop it. Now, you're both going to march out of here and go down to the street. You'll pretend nothing's wrong. You'll get into my car. Drive it. I'll be in the back with this thing pointing at you. And you'll drive out to the country.
Sounds cozy.
Nicky.
Shut up.
Where are we going, Susu?
To a little hideaway cottage used by George Arcaris.
Arcaris?
Get going.
You are an idiot, Susu, to bring them here. Why did you not shoot them in bits upon?
Well, I'm not as used to shooting people as you are, George. I'm getting out of here.
Stay where you are. Perhaps it is just as well, Mr. Queen. I owe you something. Personally. Now that Susu has brought you here, we will make the best of it, huh? We have the diamonds. This is Pip Eastrom's pistol. We will concoct a plot.
Ellery.
It's all right, Nicky. Arcaris wouldn't be that foolish.
Foolish. This cottage is owned by Pip Eastrom, Mr. Queen. An accommodation to his good friend George. But nothing on paper, you understand. So we will bury you here. By the time you are found, Mr. Eastrom, who has been a dupe throughout, we'll have some explaining to do.
No, don't. George, wait. Wait till I go away with you.
My dear Miss Mounting, we smuggle diamonds together. We will commit murder together.
Oh, no.
Or would you rather join them? I give you 5 seconds, Susu.
Get it over with. Quick.
Duck, Nicky! I've got his gun, Dad. Nice shooting, lady.
Stand still, girlfriend.
Take your paws off me, you. It's Mr. Ekstrom. Pip.
You filth.
Has anybody got a drink?
You've done your last drinking for some time, Miss Mounting. And I don't think, Arcaris, that you'll smuggle any more diamonds like these into the United States for some time. You will get me a physician and my consulate at once. Oh, sure. Well, son, another narrow squeak.
You got Mr. Istrom to thank, Maestro. He came to after the mounting woman hustled you out and phoned us pronto.
I heard Susu's confession, Mr. Queen. It quite restored my sanity.
Thanks for saving our lives, Istrom. Well, Dad, now...
Ellery, let's get out of here.
Nicky, don't you want to know who killed Mrs. Prine's son, Arthur?
The murder of Mr. Estrom's butler.
You mean, son, the two cases are connected?
Oh, yes, Dad. And I'll tell you how right now. And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have the mystery. Now, Nicky, will you introduce our guest?
Sure thing, Ellery. He's the popular screen and stage star, most recently seen with Anne Sheridan in the film Nora Prentice. Mr. Kent Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Smith. Nice to have you here.
Good evening, Ellery. Thanks for inviting me.
I understand that this season you're going to be playing for the 4th time with Catherine Cornell in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra. Is that right?
That's right, Ellery. I played with Miss Cornell in Candida, St. Joan, Wingless Victory, and I'm looking forward with great enjoyment to Antony and Cleopatra.
Well, lots of luck, Mr. Smith. Let's hope the play has a long run. But now let's get down to business, shall we? Tell me who killed Arthur Prime.
Well, it seems rather simple from where I sit. I don't know whether it is or not, but I guess that Sousa's the real villain in this piece, except that she...
The villainess.
The villainess, yeah.
Just to be grammatically correct.
Well, I must say that I was fooled about Pip, but as long as he turns out to be okay, he probably...
Having saved our lives, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It came in handy then.
And you gather it was Susa?
Certainly did.
Yeah.
And the motive?
Well, that I can't quite establish, except she might have found him. Pip sent his butler to cabin 31, and the code they used was
and
the
you
numbers
connected
code.
with the diamonds.
Yeah.
I see. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Smith, and you'll find out in just a moment what the solution is.
I can't wait.
Good. Now, here is Don Hancock.
If you want to be certain your breath is sweeter and your teeth are brighter after brushing, listen. Colinos toothpaste has a mouthwash effect built right in to sweeten the breath. The moment you use Colinos, its mouthwash effect instantly and unfailingly sweetens every case of unpleasant breath due to improper cleansing. Sweetens every case. At the same time, Colinos polishing action brightens teeth beautifully by removing ordinary yellow surface stains. So to be certain your breath is sweeter and your teeth are brighter, get Kolynos, Colinos toothpaste or tooth powder tonight.
No, but how do you think?
Look, Maestro, what gives?
Listen, every morning for 3 years, Arthur Prime prepared his employer's breakfast by 9 o'clock. On Monday mornings, Arthur always got to Mr. Istrom's apartment by 8:30, Mrs. Prime told us, Nicky. Just so Mr. Istrom can eat on time. Now, Nicky, do you recall the morning Mrs. Prime identified Arthur's body at the morgue?
Yes, it was a Monday morning.
And what time was it when we left the morgue to go to Mr. Istrom's apartment?
Very early. I think I said it was 7:15.
That's right. We took a cab. We went directly from the morgue to Istrom's Park Avenue apartment. So when we saw Istrom, no more than 15 to 20 minutes could have elapsed. In other words, it was around 7:30 in the morning. And what was Istrom doing when we called on him at that hour?
Eating his breakfast.
At 7:30 a.m. But this was breaking a fixed habit of years. Why, on that particular Monday morning, did not Pip Istrom wait for his man Arthur to turn up to prepare breakfast for him?
Because he knew Arthur was dead, Ellery?
Well, Dad, the only ones who knew Arthur was dead at that time were ourselves and Arthur's mother. Arthur's body hadn't been fished out of the East River until 5 a.m., hadn't been identified by his mother until 7:15 a.m. 15 minutes before we found Istrom eating a breakfast he himself must have prepared, since Arthur was his only servant. There is only one way Istrom could have known Arthur was dead, and that's if Istrom had killed him. Correct, Istrom?
Correct. Yeah, but, Maestro, why? And what did the number 31 have to do with it?
Well, for some time, Arthur, who had a weakness for playing the numbers game, had been playing 31, because he had noticed that your good friend Arcaris always occupied cabin 31 on the Aegea. Arthur took that as a hunch, as so many numbers players do. But that last Saturday, Arthur suddenly realized that Arcaris wasn't using cabin 31 on the Aegea just because he liked it. He had probably noticed also that each time after Arcaris sailed in cabin 31 on the Aegea, your fiancé, Istrom, invariably deposited some diamonds with you. And your butler made the connection you were too blind to make. He told you that Saturday afternoon, and you must have...
I was so outraged, I lost my temper and hit Arthur in the jaw with all my strength. He fell hard and fractured his head on the floor. I didn't mean to kill him. I hit his body then, in the middle of the night. I took it down the surface elevator into my car, disposed of it in the river.
I'm afraid, Istrom, that you've been your own worst enemy throughout. Too infatuated with Susu Mounting to see what she really was, too hot-headed to control that murderous temper of yours, and too foolish to call the police when Arthur died and rely on the simple truth. Now you'll have to face a jury under very different circumstances.
It'll be your own fault, Istrom, if they don't believe your story. Sergeant, take him in, too.
and gentlemen, you have the solution to our mystery. Thank you again, Mr. Kent Smith, for being our guest armchair detective this evening. And as mementos of your visit with us, Anderson is proud to present you with this autographed copy of my new anthology, The Queen's Awards, 1946, and a subscription to Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine. As a special gift, we have for you a Stromberg-Carlson radio phonograph combination, complete with push-button tuning and automatic record changer. We're also presenting you with a generous supply of Anacin for the relief of headache pain. Perhaps your own doctor has already recommended Anacin for the fast help it can give.
Ellery will be back in a moment. The next time you suffer from pains of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia, take Anacin. The relief it brings is incredibly fast. And here's why. Anacin is made like a doctor's prescription, contains not just one, but a combination of medically active and proved ingredients. Get Anacin from your druggist in easy-to-take tablet form. Keep it handy. And then next time you have a headache pain or suffer pain of neuritis or neuralgia, take Anacin tablets. For most effective relief, use only as directed. Anacin, A-N-A-C-I-N. Now, Ellery, what about next week?
Next week's story, Don, is about a tense problem in human relations and crime. I call it Tragedy in Blue. This is Ellery Queen saying goodnight for Anacin and enlisting all Americans in the fight against bad citizenship, bigotry, and discrimination. The crimes which are weakening America.
All names of characters used in this program are fictitious and do not refer to real people, either living or dead. Among the members of tonight's cast were Larry Dobkin, Charlotte Keene, Bill Smith, and Ed Latimer. Music by Chet Kingsbury, Don Hancock speaking. Beginning September 28th, the makers of Anacin and Colinos will bring you at the same time a new and exciting program direct from Hollywood called Hollywood Star Preview. Remember the date, September 28th.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
That was number 31 from The Adventures of Ellery Queen here on the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast. Once again, I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua.
That was Tim's pick this week. Tim, you've brought an Ellery Queen before to this podcast, haven't you?
Yes, I think it was the case of the World Series crime.
Yeah, it was the baseball one.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I will say that I've always had this weird relationship with Ellery Queen in this. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. In fact, before we started recording, I don't know why. Before we started recording, I asked you guys a question. Like, so wait, what now? Like, these people wrote it under the pseudonym. I don't know why I struggle so much with what Ellery Queen is.
It became so synonymous with mystery in America that it was more of a brand almost, because you've got Ellery Queen the detective, Ellery Queen is the writer. You had Ellery Queen magazine, which was very influential for many decades in mystery writing, to get published in Ellery Queen magazine. So it sort of was this franchise before franchises.
Yeah, like the detective Ellery Queen is kind of the Ronald McDonald of the McDonald's of Ellery Queen.
We're trying to help Eric figure this out, not make it work.
Oh, it helped this. I would really like a hamburger now. That's starving.
That's what Ellery Queen is about. Selling hamburgers.
Wasn't there an Ellery Queen in the 1970s on television?
Yes.
And was that Elliot Gould?
No.
I tell myself that same lie, though.
So it wasn't Elliot Gould?
I don't think it was, but
Who the hell was it then?
It was some other dark-haired actor who...
It was...
Okay, everybody, so we actually edited out a bunch of stuff, and we're back right now, and we looked it up, and it's Tim Hutton, and all of us...
It's
Jim Hutton.
Who is the father of Tim Hutton, I'm pretty sure.
Who's Tim Hutton?
Timothy Hutton from Taps, which he's been in a lot of things since Taps, but now I gotta look up what...
He's in Leverage, the TV show.
Timothy Hutton's in Leverage?
Isn't he? Oh, great. We're going to have to go back.
Pause.
He played Archie in the 90s TV adaptation of Nero Wolfe.
Sorry, you're totally right. He's in Leverage.
Yes.
I knew that. Ordinary People, Falcon and the Snowman.
Why do I think it's Elliot Gould? Does he look like Elliot Gould?
It's the combination of the dark hair and constantly wearing a little wool jacket.
Yeah.
You are just really easily confused. It could be part of this.
Ellery Queen has been a confusing thing for me for my whole life. and I don't know why. And
your father never sat you down and explained Ellery Queen? Had the Ellery Queen talk with you?
You're going to think it's Elliot Gould, but don't be fooled.
Kids are going to say stuff on the playground about Ellery Queen. Some of it's true, some of it's not. If you have any questions, just ask your dad.
Okay.
Can we talk about this episode now?
No. Tim, tell him stuff.
Let me tell you why I chose this episode.
So here's the deal.
Or I could wait till later. That's fine.
Tim, why don't you tell us why you chose this episode?
I really wanted to go back to Ellery Queen. I love the structure, just that core. We're going to tell you a story, and then right before we have the denouement, we're going to stop and have some random celebrity take a shot at solving it. I wanted to go back and find another episode of this, and I listened to several, and there's a lot of them that are
not good.
Yes, not fun even. Of like, Yep, that's pretty much who did it. But this one jumped out at me. It's still like, this is not a brain bender episode of like, who could have possibly committed the crime? But there's lots of things that interested me in it, of the wrapping the hot dog of the crime in a bun of another crime.
Are you hungry? We've gone from McDonald's to hot
Talking
dogs.
about food.
Sorry. That was the main thing of, this was a really atypical sort of structure to this storyline.
The first thing that struck me about it was the incredible burden that the preamble put on this show, where they're like, for a safer America, for a happier community, for a more united States. And then on top of that, Ellery comes in and says, we're solving crimes, not just violent crimes, but crimes of discrimination, of intolerance, of bad citizenship. And I'm like, holy smokes. This episode can't possibly live up to that. And while I think it was over preambled, thanks, Anison, but
by the way, the guy, you brought up Anison. A generous amount of Anison was one of his gifts.
Yes, a generous
and I
amount.
couldn't stop thinking about how much that might be.
I mean, there's a lot, but is it generous?
Guy had Anison for the rest of his life. Anyway, you were saying preamble override.
But then it actually at least partially lived up to it, right? Because that was an actual, and I know this is shocking, and it shouldn't be shocking, but in old-time radio, that it was a actor of color who played the mother.
I couldn't find a name.
I couldn't find it either, but it was clearly meant to be.
Yeah, not a dialect.
I don't think it was a dialect, no, because it would be more insulting if it were a dialect.
Yeah.
And it was a great performance.
Yep.
And they just included it with very little comment, except for the great snide line from the rich guy when they confront him over Arthur's death, where he says, maybe it was a knife fight in Harlem.
Right.
And Ellery slams him down. And that's one of the nice moments from this. But it's also really gratifying that they're doing this virtuous thing, but also her scene, Mrs. Prynne, is the best scene in this episode, just because Ellery Queen, is it Lou Dobkin in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and whoever plays Nikki and the Mrs. Prynne actress play that scene where they have to go identify the son with such reality, and they're so sober, and then when that sound effect, it's really loud, of the drawer in the morgue coming out, it just is a contrast with their quietness, and even her emotional reaction is genuine, but it's not hysterical. You just feel it, and it feels real. It's to me, the best part of this episode.
That scene, it pays off the work of the previous scene she was in of setting up what her life is and what her life with her son is. And
my second favorite part of this entire episode is when they go to Kent Smith, who's an actor I've never heard of.
Right.
I wasn't familiar with any of it.
They listed everything that he's ever done, and I was like, I don't know who you are.
But I love that it's clearly off script.
Yes.
And he makes a snide comment about the story where he talks about, well, we know it isn't Pip because he ends up helping out at the end, which was pretty convenient. And the actress of Nikki laughs, but then Dobkin just cuts him off after that. Like, he's like pissed off. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you guessed the other guy. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, there was a weird moment where seemed like they were having fun talking.
Yeah,
and then he was trying to explain. So
yep.
I think, and he goes, okay, moving on. Like the cutoff was interesting.
I chose to think Dobkin was mad at it.
You're right.
Because it made it far more entertaining.
I may have missed that because I thought he guessed the wife. Because it didn't say like, oh, you mean villainess?
They go through that villain and villainess. He's talking about the two of them, yes, and they make that joke.
Which is also a weird moment.
Yes.
Villainess.
He clearly doesn't care about any of this. That's what I found it appealing.
Is that an actual thing? Like, there was a villain and a villainess, that there was a female version of
actor,
that?
Actress.
Well, I know actress.
Villainess.
I didn't know that.
Jerk ass.
Yes.
Right, so is everything S?
Yeah.
No.
Just add it. It'll go over really well at home.
Right.
Like you're the husband and your wife is the husbandess.
Private detective S?
Sure.
We could just keep adding S to
that's what I'm getting at.
For a long time.
I don't know if it's correct if you just do that. Here's my analysis of this, which might sound like my vote already. Everything you guys have said I absolutely agree with, but really the bottom line of this whole thing is this is meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
It is a straightforward detective mystery that didn't make me angry when they gave the how they solved it. And I went, yep, that's some pretty good clue dropping, and that was really well laid out writing wise. Yeah, 8:30. He's eating at 7:30. I like all that. That works. We could have guessed this. I think the production value was great. Not that the acting was great. Now that was pretty straightforward. I had a great time. It was meat and potatoes mystery.
I was at the very opening. I was very curious of like international diamond smuggling. Let's call the local police commissioner and have his son get on this.
Right.
Because customs can't handle it.
I did think that the number 31 was weak. That the tie-in of it, that he saw that this guy was in the cabin 31, and well, I'll just bet that number. I wanted something more about the number 31 than happened.
Yeah, it was not the actual damning clue.
No,
but it is an intuitive leap that is a stretch. Yeah.
The damning clue is he was eating breakfast at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, he made his own breakfast. It's a rich guy who made his own breakfast. Yeah, so he must have known that his butler was dead.
And therefore not coming into work.
Great. He should have thought about that before he killed him.
If I had known you wouldn't come to work, I wouldn't have killed you. Now I have to fire you.
I did enjoy, again, back to that preamble, when they're talking about, fighting intolerance, discrimination, and bad citizenship, and it opens with the police harassing a Middle Eastern guy because they just know he's guilty of some crime. So they're going to call the customs, and I think the quote is, and they gave him the business. And they're like, ooh, better play the preamble again.
I did kind of. I mean, it's not the crime that they had to solve, but the smuggling trick of like, I will hide the diamonds in my room. You can search me all you want. You can search the ball all you want, and then somebody else will take them off that you're not suspicious of. Like, that's plausible and neat. I like that.
I like the clue of like, they only check people coming off the ship, but not when it's taking off. So I thought that was a good justification for it.
You can get on the ship and off before it leaves port on its second voyage. So, yeah, meat and potatoes. That works for me at no point.
Yes, I'm singing the praise. Hey, this is a functional story.
It is. And on top of that, I like it because it's functional and it doesn't make me mad or challenge me in any way.
I love how inanimate works of art elicit anger out of you.
But it's all very satisfying.
Did anyone like me think this was going to be a Great Expectations, It's a Wonderful Life mashup when they introduced Pip and Zuzu? Probably only me.
That would be only you. The only Pip I think of is Pippin.
I believe it is the name of the troll from Marvel Comics.
I don't know any other Pip.
Played by Patton Oswalt in the after credits scene of The Eternals.
Did I see The Eternals? I think I liked it.
You know what I like? Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes mysteries.
So here's my problem with Ellery Queen
So
in
hamburgers and hot dogs and meat and potatoes. Tell us about pizza, Joshua.
Ellery Queen is like a cheese pizza with nothing on it, and that's kind of my problem. I like my detectives to either be hard-boiled or eccentric with everything on it. and so he's a little dull to me as
I'll
a
agree
detective.
with that.
Yep.
He's a little bit like you combined both Hardy Boys into one sort of boring
Uber Hardy boy.
Uber Hardy, because like the Hardy Boys, his dad is a police inspector, so it's just dull.
It is dull. I will give you that. There is no personality trait to Ellery Queen that I can figure out.
Yeah, well, it is interesting that it's like that writer / character that he is an audience cipher purely.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's just there for the audience to look through his eyes.
Creepy.
Yeah. Riding around in his big old head.
Hey, Ellery, I'd like to use your face as a mask.
Any other thoughts?
Another reason I chose this was just the number 31. Like, that's an intriguing title.
Yes.
Which, admittedly, it doesn't necessarily pay off as much in the episode, but by that point, I was 2/3 of the way through, so like, well, you did your job. Title.
The praise won't stop. Adequate all around.
That really, let's go to the vote.
Yeah.
Adequate all around. That is exactly, you just hit me perfectly. That's it. I liked it. It was very, very functional and adequate. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for those socks for Christmas.
It is interesting that a lot of the things that make this sort of lukewarmy are the obvious things, and the things that are really admirable are a little subtler. Like all of the production elements that it does really well aren't that showy.
Right.
I feel. But overall, yes, I'm on the same page. I'm like, this is a fine thing to listen to. I don't even know if I'd say it stands the test of time. I don't know.
Only does it because of who the guest was.
I think it stands the test of time. I mean, we are back in a moment where these type of whodunits and detective stuff is really popular.
Yep.
Agatha Christie is crazy popular again.
The
All
Knives
the Knives
Out
Out stuff. Yes.
Oh, true enough, yes.
I would argue it stands the test of time and is historically interesting, certainly for the representational casting and some of the messaging that it does around the bad guy. And so that elevates it for me. That and the celebrity guest detective. I just love that shtick.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that guy just did not care. He's like, give me my Anison. All right. Whatever.
My generous supply of Anison, which
just sitting at an Anison bar, waving to the waiter. More.
To me, it's like a bucket of Anison. That would be generous.
Yeah. He also gets a prescription to Ellery, not a prescription. That's a prescription to Anison. A subscription to Ellery Queen magazine and an Ellery Queen book. And he's like, oh, thanks.
And I
needed a doorstop.
Yeah, and some kind of hi-fi system.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I want that.
All right, Tim, tell him stuff.
Hey, please. Let me get up to the mic. Hello. Please go.
You're doing an adequate job, Tim.
Thank you. If you'd like to eat a bucket of chicken and listen to more episodes of Mysterious Celebrated Listening Society, go to ghoulishdelights.com, home of this podcast. We have other episodes there.
Yeah, but use some moist towelettes or something. I don't want the greasy chicken fingerprints on our podcast.
You can leave a comment. Tell us how your burrito is. You can vote in polls.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
You can link to our social media pages.
Don't tell us how our burrito is.
You can also visit our Threadless store and buy swag. Unfortunately, we don't have any food in our Threadless store. Or you can go to our Patreon page.
Yes, go to patreon.com/themorals and support this podcast. We do not have food on the Patreon site, but we do have happy hours once a month in which our lovely, loyal listener, Amy, every month prepares cocktail recipes to share with everyone that are connected to our happy hour theme. So you can wash down all those hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza, chicken, and burrito with some crazy good old-time radio cocktails. Just go to patreon.com/themorals and get drunk.
If you want to see us performing live, you can see the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society Theater Company perform monthly. We do recreations of old-time classic radio shows and a lot of our own original work. We do something on stage monthly somewhere.
Some damn thing.
And you can come see us perform by going to ghoulishdelights.com or mysteriousolidradiolisteningsociety.com, and there you'll find out where we're performing and what we're performing and how to get tickets. If you can't get tickets and you can't be there, become a Patreon, because we film it and then you can watch it, because Patreons get that as part of being a Patreon.
They get so much. They're spoiled, frankly.
Hamburger. What's coming up next?
Next, we have a listener guest who will be bringing an episode of suspense entitled The 13th Sound. Until then, look out! I know his name. Let's just look it up. It's the guy from...
Is it Saul?
Saul Goodman, yes.
It's Saul Goodman?